what I would say is that in response to this like gay agenda, women's agenda, LGBTQ agenda, wouldn't
Yeah.
it just be more likely that they're responding to what's popular and what societies want rather than them really coordinating regardless of that, right? Like it makes more sense to me that they would be responding to society because what society wants is going to give them more money, and why would you why would you hurt your monetary income like that?
Well, honestly, an ethical company wouldn't be all about money. A moral company would not just be all about money. So I think that that's why I partly call it this commie capitalism thing, because these people are. It's not that the broader society wants all of this stuff necessarily. They're definitely being pushed more than the society is, and it's part of it is because the people in the media, the people in the marketing departments, the people in the HR departments, the people in Hollywood they tend to be far more off the deep end liberal and just ridiculous than the normal broader society. So that without a doubt, they're forcing it down people's throats. I don't know how you can claim that it's just responding. They're responding to one another, pushing each other more towards evil. So yeah, they're being pushed around and they're responding in that sense, but they're not responding to like normal people. It's just like the government. They forced the same-sex marriage thing down our throats. Even in California, we voted against it popularly. They've done that in every way. They don't mind grabbing power by hook or by crook and
Yeah.
pushing and changing the culture by hook or by crook.
So what I'm getting from this is that it's not really related then to the Great Reset, what you're talking about, or is
How
it?
how not?
How? Okay, so what is the Great Reset agenda, and why is it different than just responding to consumers?
The Great Reset agenda is about what I gather from it. It's
Mhm.
about pushing this rich needs to help the poor. The rich need to help the poor. The whites need to help the POCs. The overserved need to help the so-called underserved. In reality, the underserved are overserved more often. And uh, we need coordination and centralization of power and centralization of um, opening the lines of communication and all that stuff. So it's an information grab, it's a power grab, it's an ego boost for them. They like seeing other people. They like having influence in the world. Anybody likes that, especially when they have a pride issue going on.
Okay. So you're talking about centralized power, and you're saying that basically it's a move to centralize power and coordinate that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to push their agenda, the anti-racism, the woman thing. These are not decent companies. These are not decent people.
If the companies are pushing though for like things that maybe they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, but they're doing it and the end outcome is good, why should anybody really care then?
What end outcome has been good from any of the stuff that they've pushed?
Well, I mean,
We've
it
had
seems
the
like they're
economy
pushing
destroyed.
for
We've had the
well,
economy
Well,
destroyed. We've had
let her
the
let her answer your question
Okay,
real quick.
go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So well, you're talking about them advocating for like the rich helping the poor, for example.
Yeah.
Why should we not be okay with that? And my second question also would be, what should we do about it?
The rich freely help the poor, and
Mhm.
them getting involved, they're not doing it in the right way. You'll notice that the war on poverty has never really ended.
Mhm.
It's been only enabling them to. I mean, we have homelessness out of control. So it's the same type of liberal mentality that panders and spoils the so-called poor in America is what they want all across the world. And so that's not right. They don't shouldn't have any say over other people's money.
Okay, so so for a solution to that, would you say that government should get involved with this and like tell them to not do that, or or what?
I think America, in particular, the people should totally reject. I think that we should push to get out of the UN or really overhaul it. We should get out of these world so-called leader partnerships that we're in, where we get pushed around and told to basically redistribute our wealth to so-called poor countries for the climate crisis and for the China virus stuff, because these people are
How's
not to
the
be trusted.
UN related though to World Economic Forum?
They're all for the same thing. The UN, the World Economic Forum, and all that. They're
If they're all
for
for the
same
same thing, but they're all, if you're saying that they're all for the same thing, but the UN encompasses like countries that like still execute gay people, right? And if they're all for the same thing, like this pushing of like progressive
that's not the push of the UN, and you know that though.
Well, you were just saying, you were talking about the push of progressive policies and of sharing of wealth, right? There are so many countries in the UN that don't push that.
But countries in the UN that don't push that, supposedly, that doesn't mean that that's not what the UN is about. The UN has this, like I told you, I don't know if you're aware of it, but they tried to accuse America of human rights violations for their treatment of Black people, which is a total joke. So I don't know how you don't know that the UN is part of the same false do-gooder mindset as the World Economic Forum types. Had you heard of that? That they tried to accuse America of human rights violations?
I think I may have heard vaguely of something like that, but yeah, I don't know that that's really, again, proving anything with the Great Reset to me, right?
It's part of the same thing. The Great Reset people in their thing, they said, oh, the Blacks are suffering disproportionately from the China virus. It's systemic racism is getting exposed all the more. The vulnerable people are suffering all the more because of this. But it has nothing to do with that. But they claim that it is. So they're the same ilk, is what I'm arguing.
Okay. So the United States should leave the UN. What should the United States do about the World Economic Forum then?
Stay out of it. Not be so in bed with these companies, because I say that these are commie capitalist companies, not just because of what they push and the lies that they are forcing to subvert our culture, but also because they are in bed with the government. They try to push around the government. You'll see some of these companies try to change the laws to be more SJW friendly and less family friendly, less Christian friendly against white people. So we should basically take a hard stand against these, maybe bring back some anti-American activities type proceedings against these companies and hold them a little bit more responsible for the cultural rot that they have pushed.
Okay, so the U.S. isn't in bed with companies in the World Economic Forum.
Oh yeah, they are. Google? Are you kidding me?
Well,
Meta?
these are
Facebook?
private. They're private companies and citizens who partake voluntarily in membership with the World Economic Forum.
Well, I'm arguing that they are pushing evil, whether or not they're part of the World Economic Forum, and they are part of the World Economic Forum, and they're not. And Meta, which is Facebook, and Google, which is Alphabet and evil, and YouTube, those are not private companies. They're in bed with the government. They have all kinds of subsidies and deals with the government. They are kind of like doing the bidding of the government, or the government's doing the bidding of them. They're very much involved financially and in many other ways. They have huge lobbies. It's kind of naive to say that. It comes off as naive for you to say that they're just private companies. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that they're like nationalized companies then?
They're international. Definitely. They're anti-American in some ways. They're just outright against the First Amendment. But yeah, they're in bed with the U.S. government for sure.
They're in bed with the U.S. government, but they're anti-American.
Oh yeah, definitely. The American government is mostly against us. That's why the American government was against Trump. It's not like the government is not of the people, really. It's of maybe like a third of the people who are like the most. Well, I mean, the people are weak. The people are corrupt. So in that way, I do grant you that it does reflect the people in many ways. But let's be honest, the government is not for, let's say, for example, the Trump supporters or the people who've, both Democrats and Republicans who for decades have wanted strong borders and to get rid of the illegal aliens from the country. And the government has not done that. It's done like the opposite of that. It's
And you think
brought
the
in
World
more immigrants.
Economic Forum has taken a part in that then?
They would definitely cheerlead that. That's for sure. They want this open borders type thing, free flow of migrants. They want to take care of refugees, and they also want to take care of the people within cities who are also supposedly left on the outs. So I don't know that they've taken part in that directly, but they are cheerleading that. They would definitely be supportive of more of that, which is what these companies are. These companies are for open borders and anti-Trump, anti-strong anti-immigration policy. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were going to demonstrate like a way in which the World Economic Forum is influencing these companies to be in bed with the United States government, to influence policy within the government, how would you do that then?
I don't know nor care that much that the World Economic Forum is influencing these companies to do that. They're doing it on their own. It's in many cases in their corrupt self-interest to have the cheap labor of mass immigration. You've heard stories, I'm sure, where they've had outside, even like high-skilled workers come in, and these American workers train their outside worker replacements. So there's been a big push, and also these people are liberals, and so they want the Democrat voters coming in and to raise anchor babies who then
So if
vote
it's
for them
not
and stuff.
related to the World Economic Forum, then it's not related to the Great Reset.
Well, it clearly is, because that's what the Great Reset is about too. It's just another player in the game, is how I see the Great Reset stuff. You're right. I
So
don't see the World Economic Forum as a central player necessarily. But when you look at all these companies, they're clearly major. Companies are clearly major players, including the George Soros company and all of them. But yeah, Amazon, Google, Unilever, Coca-Cola,
I guess I'm
all
just
those.
confused. I'm a little
Yeah,
bit confused at the
sure.
point, because the Great Reset is something that's specifically like been talked about by the World Economic Forum, and
Yeah.
you're saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be that these companies are in coordination and they're being influenced by the World Economic Forum, and and by that, the Great Reset. So I'm confused as to like what the point is here about the Great Reset that you're trying to make.
Oh, okay. My primary argument is that none of the players involved in the Great Reset are for what's right. They're for what's evil. And that's been
Okay.
demonstrated for decades in some cases. In the last several years, especially, they've kind of come out of the woodwork and come out of hiding. They're just openly supporting
What
every
is
kind of
evil?
evil. What is evil?
Mhm.
Examples of evil would be to pretend wrong is right, like the gay agenda, calling wrong right and right wrong. This women's equality thing. It's just putting women in charge of things and just having things be totally upside down. Just illogical, just emotional, intellectual,
Well,
false
it sounds
leadership.
like, honestly, it sounds like you're making a very emotional argument here yourself. I don't see the logic in this argument. I've
How
asked
so?
if you can demonstrate the connection between the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, and these companies and the government, and you haven't been able to say that, but you say it's basically what it sounds like to me is that you're operating off of your feelings rather than logic.
How so? How have I not demonstrated? I've clearly demonstrated that all those different things are connected in different ways.
I'm not sure how. I've asked a couple of times now to demonstrate how it's connected to the World Economic Forum, and you've kind of almost in
Are
some
you not
cases.
aware that those companies are strategic partners of the
I know
World
that I
Economic
know that
Forum?
Let's not
partners.
talk over each other, guys. Let's not
Okay.
talk.
Yeah.
I know that they're partners, but when I've asked if you can demonstrate how beyond them being partners that they're taking part in this great reset and that they're coordinating in these agendas, you have even in some cases said, well, it doesn't even have to be the World Economic Forum, right?
Correct.
Which is like that's even off of the topic. It's like a complete, like we've fallen off of like the train completely then. Right?
I think what you were expecting me to think was, or what you were wanting me or expecting me to think was that this World Economic Forum is the central player
I don't
in
even
this
think
Great
that,
Reset
but
thing.
we're talking
And
about the
these
great. Well,
because you made the claim that these companies.
Let's let him respond.
You made the
Go
claim
ahead.
that these companies are doing the bidding of or that I would argue that these companies are doing the bidding of the World Economic Forum, when I've said that whether it's part of the independent World Economic Forum or not, these companies are corrupt. They're for what's wrong.
but
Yeah.
the Great Reset is specifically something put forward by Klaus Schwab, who is the founder of the World Economic Forum, right?
Right.
So you're saying that it doesn't necessarily have to do with the World Economic Forum.
No, my complaints are not necessarily to do
So
with the World Economic
the
Forum.
complaints aren't even related to the Great Reset then.
No, they're related by way of the people involved, the players involved. Klaus Schwab is not a decent guy. George Soros, who helped co-found the World Economic Forum, I understand, is not a decent guy. None of these companies have been for what's right. And the stated goals of the centralization of power, this fake idea of coordinating and all that stuff. We need to now use this power grab to help fight the crisis of climate change. All that stuff. None of that's for what's right.
Okay. So what you're saying is that basically, so what I was expecting, I'm not expecting you to say that the World Economic Forum is like the central power or something like that. What I was expecting was you to argue for the Great Reset, and instead you're arguing that companies are bad.
Yeah. And the companies that are supporting this Great Reset thing are bad. And so that's why we shouldn't be supportive of it. Like, I think you would say that the Great Reset is real, but what do you think, it's benign?
Well, I explained it in my intro that it's basically a really boring book written by Klaus Schwab that people have like overread and overinterpreted into conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't really particularly aware of the book. I had heard something about it back in 2010, right? But it's also the name of the 50th annual, right? Or some annual.
And he names his books after like things related to the World Economic Forum and their meetings. So generally they are related. So
the meeting was named after his book, apparently, because the meeting took place 10 years after his book.
Yes, he'll coordinate things with his book and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or with the books that he writes. But it's a very boring book. And
you read it?
Well, from what for the few things that I saw in it were really boring. But I didn't read the whole book though. So
I don't blame you.
But it's just a boring book, and I guess I'm just trying to understand. I'm not saying the Great Reset is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's not a coordinated effort by some cabal that's like trying to push their agendas on the world. I think that companies generally, like they do things, they put out messaging that is profitable to them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be part of some coordinated effort.
Well, I say that like I told you before, it's not. Yes, profit is perhaps a motivator, but it's much more than just profit, because they do push a culture and an agenda, and there's no question about that. Like I demonstrated with like the basically the makeup of these influential companies, supposedly influential companies. And it's more than just a book. It's the name of their meeting that was took place in June of 2020, which is a few months into the what I call the scam-demic, because the shutdowns, I don't think they were necessary. It was like this mama spirit where we kind of broke our economy basically for the primarily, you know, the elderly and the overweight and the, you know, the at-risk people, when they could have protected themselves in other ways. There are many more manly ways to do it and still have a functioning society and life and have freedom and not just give up. But they scared the women, and they scared the it was fear mongering. And Trump was saying, let's not be afraid, live your life. And they called him a liar for it, or they accused him of downplaying it when they were the ones upplaying it. They being, you know, the mainstream media, not necessarily just the World Economic Forum or these companies. So I don't necessarily think that it's coordinated. It's just a corrupt culture. There is some coordination without a doubt going on. The CDC has been, you know, especially very women-led now, scared women-led. She says, I'm scared, this Walensky woman. I know that's getting away from the World Economic Forum, but they're all part of that same culture. You understand what I'm saying?
So
I'm saying it's a culture.
It sounds like you want to talk more about the things that you just don't like rather than like the Great Reset itself.
But that's what the Great Reset pushes. Is this shutting down and then now we have to help everybody.
So your problem is not with the World Economic Forum, it's with like the companies that attend it, basically.
Oh, it's with the World Economic Forum as well. It's with all the players, every single player involved. I don't know one that's for what's right or for decency. I don't think that they would let them in, honestly. They try to force. Well, I mean, Trump is one decent man in the government, and they had to force him out. And you've seen that over and over, Congressman Steve King. So it is coordination, but it's also a whole culture. So I'm not calling it a conspiracy theory. I'm calling it a corrupt culture, and they're part of it.
Okay, so I'm still looking for I guess how the Great Reset meeting had anything to do with like the progressive agendas that we see or progressive messaging that we see companies doing in the US.
Well, they're all in line with one another. You'll notice that the progressive companies right now are targeting Governor Ron DeSantis's the so-called "Don't Say Gay" bill, according to them. They're all part of this push against the Christians, against the whites, against the men logical thinkers.
Trump was at the World Economic Forum in 2020, right?
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Right.
Does that make him for it?
I don't know. Maybe he's in coordination too.
No, I wouldn't think so. He seems like, I mean, a lot of people do think that he was part of it. They think, oh, he became a vax pusher. He's a vaccine salesman. He's part of them. He's a Trojan horse. But I don't think that. I think he's pretty genuine in how he is.
Are you sure you're not being woman-brained right now?
Why? What's woman-brained about?
I'm still waiting for the connection. I'm still waiting for the connection. The connection with all of these companies and all of these people and the Great Reset and the and I don't know, like how it's connected to people pushing vaccines and people doing things that are monetarily good for their company, right?
No, I've said over a couple of times now, they're not just doing stuff that's good for monetarily good for their company. There is that involved, but I don't know I don't really get. I think you're trying to play like this thing where I have to show how it's all connected or something. I'm not one of those people who's really into that. You know, this it's all connected type conspiracy. It is connected in that, you know, people generally think alike. Great minds think alike, and so do evil minds think alike. It's a corrupt culture. Yeah, but what do you want from me?
Basically, it needs to be connected or it's not a great reset, right? The great reset isn't really then what
What?
your version of the great reset isn't really like real then if there's no connection, right? All you're saying is that a bunch of people got together and made coordinated a meeting, but
Yeah.
there's nothing beyond that that says that they're coordinating a great reset other than Klaus Schwab talking about his book and promoting his book, his boring
Yeah.
book, you know?
Okay, I think I'm getting you. Well, I'm not really interested in. You want me to show the connection? I think I'm better off showing you what I'm more interested in, because I'm not privy to like the secrets or anything, if there are, however, whatever the secrets are. But I like to look at stuff that's obvious that's going on, that's in concert with what they're about, and I just like to look at evil stuff that's going on. We've seen, the economy's messed up, the supply chain. There's a mess with that, and these are largely because of the overreaction to the China virus. I haven't really talked about the vax push, but that's definitely part of what's messing up people's ability to function.
Is the
The
vax
mandates and
push
things.
uh-huh
The
is the
mandates
vax
specifically.